How many of you took the 9S? Okay. Oh, sorry. You know what I'm talking about. Strength and supplements. How many did that course? What did Eric show us to do with our mobility drills?
Load them.
Load them with what? With the bands. He actually at that time took the bands and said, okay, now you've been doing your mobility drills without resistance, do it with resistance now. And he understands there's just progression, okay? Just to answer that question. Okay, so here we go. Let's just talk about technique now. For years, I deadlifted looking up, but I was in a flexion position, okay? Anybody gets confused. It's like, well, are we in flexion or are we doing extension? What are we doing here? Okay? So what's going to happen is I want you to go ahead and get into a neutral position, okay? Line up your load joints. That's load joints, the joints that carry most of your load. Ankles underneath your knees, knees underneath your hips, hips in between your shoulders, okay? You want to go ahead and maintain this neutral position for what reason? Why not sumo right away? What's the number one reason? What's that?
Yeah, the external rotation was already.
It's going to turn off the multifidi. So those are the guys we want to get. There's a structure that we want to make sure that's working during this deadlift. It's your multifidi. It's your paraspinals. It's making sure that you have enough space between your vertebrae. Okay. So let's talk about the multifidi real quick. Are the multifidi designed, or the paraspinals designed to hold your vertebrae together or pull them apart?
Stabilize. Stabilize.
Pull them apart, create space. Okay? If they're firing, if they're not doing their job, then you get compression. So their job is to go ahead and obviously help out with extension, rotation, lateral flexion, but they do it while maintaining space. Okay? So you want to make sure you have enough space in your multifidi, or in your spine, before you even get started. And the best way to go ahead and ensure that is to make sure you're in a neutral position and train that way first. Okay? So what's going to go ahead and happen, remember shin angle, okay? Remember long spine, remember think space. I'm going to actually look down at the floor, and as I start up, I move my eyes up, but not my head, okay? One more time. Proper shin angle, okay? I'm forward, my spine is long, I'm looking down. As I stand up, I look up with my eyes to encourage extension. Notice that my knees are still bent, okay? So what's helping me move this bar? Glutes. I engage my glutes at the bottom. I roll my shoulders back at the same time as I extend my knees. Everybody understand that?
Kent, how far are you from your shins when you start? About an inch?
I actually touch in the beginning,
Really?
but as I go along with my training cycle, I do go ahead and let it slide away a little bit, and the reason why is my shins totally get beat up by me. You know, if you can tell, you see all the scars? And that's after years of me backing off of it. I used to have to take a week or two off because I ripped my shins up from the bar, eating it up, okay? And that would actually be the driving factor whether or not I could actually train or not. Okay, so that's one of the things. So now understand this. If I roll the bar out and I pull from here, the load is totally changed when you do that, okay? So you want to make sure you have enough space. You want to actually pick a bar. If you're lucky, that's actually pushed out a little bit where the knurling's not so close, okay? If it is, then you know that chances are, you start to eat your chin up, that you're not going to be able to work out and deadlift on a regular basis, okay? All right, questions on that? Only my eyes looking, okay? And the reason why is just because I don't want to confuse my nervous system. And I actually, like, if I actually go ahead and look up, there's a lot more tension in my body. When I actually look down, I'm more relaxed. And as I go up, my body says, oh, I got it, extension. And it gives it to me. Just to go ahead and give you an example, I used to go ahead and, when I was squatting, I used to look up at the ceiling the whole time when I went down to the bottom of my squat. And I started having this problem where in the middle of a competition, I would actually fall back into the spotters and I would miss my left. And it's because I was sending conflicting information to my nervous system. I was saying extension, but I was in flexion. And it just simply wasn't working. The reason why is my paraspinals weren't able to go ahead and do the job to actually go ahead and make sure I stayed in a erect posture. Okay? All right, so we'll go ahead and have them run out. I want you to try this real quick.
All right. This way?
Yep.
Should I do what I normally do, or should I modify
Do what you
anything?
normally do, and then we'll correct it. now what I'd like you to go ahead and do is drop down. That looks pretty decent.
Okay.
But I actually like people to go ahead and sit back on it. Use the bar to go ahead and help you hold your position. So you can go ahead and drive through your heels when you do this. Extend your spine, and that may mean that you have to drop down and get closer. Now, go ahead and stand up.
Okay.
Mike's at a mechanical disadvantage because of his what?
You're kidding.
His height, okay? But he still needs to get down there. If he doesn't, he transfers the load right to his back, and the strength of his back will dictate how much he can actually deadlift. And I've only seen one person that was taller than Mike pull that off. And his name was Jimmy McGee's. He was 220 pounds at 6'5", and he deadlifted 832. But he had an amazingly, incredibly strong back. The only guys he pulled it off. Everybody else needs to drop down and go ahead and actually use the legs, okay? Now we're going to drop down a little bit. There you go. Stick the chest out. Lengthen your spine. Head straight. Now go ahead and drive through your heels and squeeze your butt. Try that a couple more times. Yes. And you should go ahead and she made a nice remark. You should finish in the same position you went up. Okay. One of the injuries I sustained in my back was actually at the end of my deadlift, not at the beginning of my deadlift. And that was actually right when I was relaxing. I let go. I had 694 in my hands, and I actually herniated the disc. Okay. So it's important to go ahead and make sure you control your deceleration as well. Okay.
Kent, do you ever recommend sumo at all now?
I recommend, just like I learned from, and it wasn't my idea, it's a great powerlifter by the name of Ed Cohen. His trainer would not allow him to deadlift sumo to 2 weeks out, okay? Because of what it does neurologically to your spine and to your pelvis, okay? If you're in competition, absolutely, okay? But understand what you're giving up if you're out here. Okay? Understand you're actually shortening on the lateral structures. Understand that your erectors now have to do a lot of work. Your multiply work extremely hard in this position. Okay? You have to do all your core work up until that point. And when I herniated my disc, I wasn't doing any sort of core work, no type of spinal stability at all. I had to do a ton of that stuff to get my body even ready for this position. And one of the issues with doing a sumo deadlift